This is All India Radio Mangaluru. Dear listeners, in today's Talk in English program, we now bring you a talk, Online Education in the Times of COVID-19, by Dr. Girish N., Assistant Professor of English, St. Aloysius College, Mangaluru.
Raju, a first standard student, sits in front of a laptop with his mother every day from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m., attending compulsory online classes. Jayalakshmi, a student of 2nd PUC Commerce, spends 2 hours with her mobile solving problems in accountancy. Manjunath, a research scholar in physics, appeared before the doctoral committee for his Viva Voce and defended his thesis on Skype, sitting in his bedroom converted into a study. These 3 disparate images are the new normal in COVID-sponsored online educational paradigm. Schools and colleges are shut down since March, compelling students, teachers, educational institutions, and also government to shift to online modes of teaching and learning. Online education per se is not completely a new model of imparting education in India, and it did not appear from nowhere. We have had several attempts of both government and private institutions offering education on various non-traditional platforms. Back in 1961, the Government of India started offering educational content on television as secondary school television project. Since then, there have been many such initiatives, such as Satellite Instructional Television Experiment of 1975, to Massive Open Online Courses, Swayam, NPTEL, ePG Pathshala, eGyan Kosh, Swayam Prabha, PM eVidya, and many more. In the private sector, we have Tutor Vista to begin with, and Mindspark, Vedantu, Educart, Byju's, and many others. In the present circumstances, imparting education using online platforms has become a reality. Our houses and classrooms have been transformed into online educational, technological laboratories. Teachers are metamorphosed into tech-savvy computer geeks. Of course, technology helps in learning, but we should keep in mind teaching via online portals is an important medium of literacy in its own right. I need to place before you some important considerations before we jump into this online mode of learning. Does the technology facilitate the attainment of objectives of education in general and of the subject in particular? How are we, as teachers, modify ourselves and the attitudes of our students so as to suit the new learning styles? Is the technology in use cost effective? Do the benefits outweigh its cost? Are all teachers economically robust enough to buy required devices to prepare a quality online content? Do all our students have a smartphone, a television set, a personal computer, and sufficient electricity? Do all students have a proper atmosphere at home to learn the online content? Do all students learn alike? What are the plans to help slow learners and physically challenged students? Are the teachers ready to work with the new technology? Is any training required? Has anyone asked the teachers if they are ready and capable of teaching online? Is any standardized training offered to all the teachers to conduct online classes? Does it serve the need of the teachers and students? Are we doing it only because the schools and college managements have made it mandatory? Have we assessed the effectiveness of such learning? Do we think this pandemic situation will never end and we will not go back to our normal classes? Apart from these questions, there are also many socio-cultural issues that need to be addressed. First, let's be clear about what is the value of our regular classrooms and the learning and teaching that happened there. They have been the sacred spaces of lessons of life. All our senses were involved in perceiving and experiencing a classroom. They have been the places of camaraderie, joy, comfort, solace, nurture, and most importantly, learning. There was a human touch in everything that happened in a classroom. There were also problems in terms of unwanted competitions, jealousy, humiliation, and bullying. But most of the time, students and teachers found their way to face them. More than anything else, classrooms were as Meena Pillai, in an article entitled An Ode to the Classroom, argues, however fragile or tentative their educational value, and no matter how dark the setting, classrooms were unforgettable moments of affinity, fellowships of pride and humanity. But this lockdown is significantly altering our educational patterns, converting us into non-social beings. We were born free and also were members of a community, but now highly secluded, exceedingly individualistic, and unapologetically self-centered. Meena Pillai explains, COVID-19 pandemic has fossilized us in space, building islands of solitude all around. The classroom was a social space, a habitus, a network of individual and collective practices. In that sense, even before the idea of the state, it was our first encounter with the police, an organization of people arising precisely out of acting and speaking together, a shared space of words and deeds. There are also many socio-economic complexities involved in dealing with this online education. Our digital infrastructure is very inadequate. In spite, we are second only to China in terms of using internet. A report by the Internet and Mobile Association of India says only 36% of Indian population has access to internet. According to the 2017-18 National Sample Survey Report on Education, only 8% of all the household with members aged between 5 and 24 have both a computer and an internet connection. 2018 Niti Aayog report states 50,000 villages in India don't have mobile network coverage. One of the most ambitious projects of our government, BharatNet, aimed at providing broadband connection to 250,000 gram panchayats by 2021. According to the reports, only 53% of the villages are service ready as of now. By implementing online education across the nation before preparing the ground for it, will we not be creating a great digital divide among students? The report, Household Size and Composition Around the World 2017, published by United Nations, defines the household as a fundamental socio-economic unit. As a group of persons, a household shares common provision of food, shelter, and other essentials, and also decide on childbearing, education, healthcare, labor force, migration and saving, etc. Understanding the household size is very crucial to understand the reach of online education. Arvindan Natarajan cites the National Family Health Survey of 2015 and 16 and argues only 56.5% of the Indian population live in Pakka houses, and the average urban household size is 4.3. In rural India, it is 4.7. More than half of all Indian households have at least 3 persons on an average sleeping in one room. Where and how online education is a possibility in such households. Households have always not promised safety and comfort to children and women. According to Arvind Natarajan, almost 1 in 3 women in the age 15 to 49 age group has experienced some form of physical violence within the household since the age of 15. And 6% have also experienced sexual violence. Incidentally, it has been found that the experience of violence reduces when they are present in an educational institution. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has said, for many women and girls, the threat looms largest where they should be safest, in their own homes. We know lockdowns and quarantines are essential to suppressing COVID-19, but they can trap women with abusive partners. It is alarming to see domestic violence will become more dangerous than the pandemic itself. Rising number of sick people, growing unemployment, increased anxiety and financial stress, and a scarcity of community resources have created a fertile ground for unreported cases of domestic and sexual violence to increase. When we have a closer look at the situation of schools and colleges in Karnataka, there are an approximate of 77,000 schools, out of which 50,000 government 7,000 aided and 19,000 private schools. More than 4 lakh teachers in these schools, out of which 2 lakh in government, 50,000 in aided, and 4,49,000 in private schools. In all these schools, over 1 crore students study, out of which 49 lakh in government, 15 lakh in aided, and 45 lakh students study in private schools. In the higher education sector of Karnataka, we have 430 government degree colleges, 13 affiliating universities, and 321 private aided colleges, in which 2.96 lakh students study. There are nearly 7,200 permanent teachers and nearly 14,564 guest faculty in the government sector. During July 2019, the government appointed around 22,000 guest teachers to hold classes for 10 and second PU students. Do all students and teachers in primary, secondary and higher educational sectors have appropriate technology, comfortable household, supportive parents, spouses, and financial backing to cope with the challenges of online education? Guest faculty of degree colleges and guest teachers in schools earn 10,000 and 7,500 rupees per month respectively. Moreover, these guest teachers have not been paid since March, and there is no certainty about their employment in the coming year. The situation is so serious that already 8 guest lecturers have committed suicide in Karnataka, and 2 class 10 students, one from Malappuram district in Kerala and another from Howrah district of West Bengal, chose to end their lives as they did not have a working television set, a computer or a smartphone. A report published in Education World states more than 35,000 private school teachers in Karnataka will lose jobs since most parents are unable to pay the school fees due to the financial crisis, and there has also been an increase in digital teaching platforms in which one good physics, mathematics or English teacher is more than enough to create one-time quality content for all the students who study those subjects. There are too many questions than answers, but what can be the answers? Framing of a policy on effectiveness of online teaching and implementing it with utmost honesty, sincerity and commitment. Reaching out to teachers in terms of funds and training who cannot afford the required technology and find it difficult to cope with the change. Offering extensive counseling to teachers, students and parents, building confidence in them about their important roles in society. Proper and intensive training of at least 1 month to make the teachers competent in teaching their subjects on the online portals. Establishment of high-speed broadband in every village and making it free to every student and teacher. Reviving BSNL, a public institution which has a reach in almost all villages of India. Appropriate teacher safety and student safety measures in order to avoid any online issues like data theft, hacking, piracy, pornography and others. Providing appropriate paid software to teachers. Access to downloadable content which can be viewed when students can, not necessarily sit in front of the gadget at a fixed time. Maximum use of radio and television to broadcast quality education content. Remodeling the curriculum to suit the learning habits, speed and interest of the learner. Avoid tests and exams based on memory, rote learning and unnecessary repetition. Most educational institutions are adapting corporate model of treating teachers as workers and students as customers. And teachers are assessed based on their performance in the online platform. We should rethink this corporate model of assessing teachers. Continuation of salary to the teachers and also supporting students. Many educational institutions have completely stopped paying their teachers since the closure of schools and colleges, or have reduced their salaries by 25% to 60%. Such educational institutions should look into their vision and mission statements. Most of the middle class population and the people below them are vulnerable due to the economic crisis that this pandemic brought in. Very soon, we will have a major portion of our population which will be jobless and therefore helpless. And there are a greater chances of them becoming dispensable people. This situation might trigger into a serious socio-economic political crisis that our nation has never witnessed. To conclude, teaching profession has seen many paradigm shifts. The present pandemic condition is another test of educational policies, their effectiveness, abilities of our educational institutions and teachers, and our teaching learning processes, and how effectively we will adapt to the implications of technology-aided teaching and learning. We should remember, technology will be all knife without a handle if inappropriately adapted.
Dear listeners, you have just heard Dr. Girish N. speaking on the subject, Online Education in the Times of COVID-19. This talk came to you from the studios of All India Radio, Mangaluru.